Now, after the attacks in San Bernardino, the Democrats didn't wait a moment to politicize the situation. And one thing is for sure, more gun control is probably coming your way. Michele Byington of U.S. Law Shield here to discuss. Michele, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, right after the shootings in San Bernardino, the president decided to call for more gun laws. Here's what he said, Michele.
The one thing we do know is that we have a pattern now of mass shootings in this country that has no parallel anywhere else in the world. And there are some steps we could take, not to eliminate every one of these mass shootings, but to improve the odds that they don't happen as frequently. Common sense gun safety laws, stronger background checks. We should never think that this is something that just happens in the ordinary course of events, because it doesn't happen with the same frequency in other countries.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Nora.
And by the way, Michele, it didn't happen with the same frequency before this man was president either. But what does he mean by a common sense gun law?
Number one, before I get to that, what world is he living in? That comment was just a slap in the face to Paris. Those terrorist attacks that happened a couple weeks ago and the Charlie Hebdo massacre. What a slap in the face to Paris with those comments. But clearly they are politicizing the issue. They were taking advantage of this terrible tragedy to further their liberal agenda. And common sense gun law, in my opinion, is to arm the good guys. Get concealed carry permits out there to law-abiding citizens so they have a chance to survive when some crazy human comes in and wants to wreak havoc on a social services building.
But some would say, in fact, I was on Christopher Hahn's radio show tonight. He's a frequent guest on this show as well. And his point was that, hey, this guy got his guns legally. We need to make it harder for bad guys to get guns legally. Why do you differ with that, Michele?
The issue is a criminal does not respect the law. So regardless of how easy or how hard it is to get a gun, a bad guy's going to get one no matter what. So what you're effectively doing when you make it more difficult to purchase a gun, you are making it harder for the good guy, who then may deter the good guy from getting a gun and not being able to protect themselves. What people are failing to realize is that this criminal is going to get their hands on whatever they want anyway.
Okay, but this is the thing that I'm hearing a lot about today. A lot of people were calling, the Democrats in particular were calling, and even some Republicans calling for the people who are on the no-fly list, the high security risks. Why should they be able to get licensed to have a gun?
Well, are you talking about getting licensed to have a gun or purchasing a firearm? Because they're two very different things. In order to purchase a or any sort of firearm for that matter, you've got to go through the federal background check. So I'm not real sure why these people weren't pinged on the FBI NICS background check anyway. You can't be under indictment for a felony. You can't have any domestic abuse charges. There's a whole litany of eligibility requirements that we all have to meet in order to purchase a firearm. And those eligibility requirements become even more stringent when it comes to getting a handgun license for somebody to walk around and carry every day. So maybe this is a failure on the FBI NICS check, because I feel like that's something that should be pinged.
Well, and one of my questions is, if they're a high security threat, so much so that they're on a no-fly list, why are they living in this country anyway? But we don't get to ask those questions, I guess, because our borders are pretty much wide open. When you compare the United States to other countries, why do you think we do have such a disproportionate number of these mass shootings as compared to other countries?
Well, I don't think we have a disproportionate number, because look, it happened in China probably a year ago, where this madman went in with a knife and started slashing elementary school children waiting on their parents to pick them up after school. This happened in Norway, same thing. A crazy man with a gun went in and shot up a bunch of school children. And interestingly enough, when Australia outlawed citizens to possess handguns, guess what skyrocketed? Violent crime. Violent crime skyrocketed when Australia disarmed its citizens. And we see this over and over and over again, even with Britain. When you disarm your citizens, violent crime goes up. And if you can't carry around a police officer all day, how are you going to defend yourself?
It's a great question, and I certainly don't know the answer, but I want to ask you this. One of the things that they've called for is a ban on getting assault weapons, they call them, out of the hands of people like the killer yesterday. Why is that a flawed idea?
Number one, the term assault weapon is very silly in my opinion. So these are guns that typically have higher capacity magazines, where they have the capability of firing about 20 to 30 rounds of ammunition. Now, with these sorts of weapons, they look scary, right? They are still semi-automatic guns, which semi-automatic guns mean with one pull of the trigger, one bullet comes out,
right?
Just like a handgun. Right? So a handgun looks less scary, but the guts of these semi-automatic rifles or handguns are basically the same. So really there's no difference between being able to get a 30-round magazine in an assault rifle with this big, bad, scary-looking gun, or carrying around two separate magazines that can fit into a Glock 19.
And so in the end, this is really a lot more, what's the word? Symbolism over substance. Remember that. Symbolism over substance, because none of the measures that they're calling for, as far as I can tell, would have prevented what happened yesterday, nor will they prevent what will happen in the future, except for maybe putting more guns in the hands of licensed professionals. Is that your take on it as well? We're out of time, but go ahead.
You're absolutely right, and I just want to leave your audience with this. You can't legislate out crazy. Yeah. All you can do is defend yourself and allow Americans to defend themselves.
It's a conversation we need to have too. Thanks for being with us, Michelle. More in a moment.